Humans begin to manifest psychokinetic abilities in the year 2011, leaving a trail of death and destruction in their wake. Saki Watanabe's Cantus powers are finally awakened 1,000 years later, and after a rite of passage, she leaves Harmony School and joins her friends who had their powers awakened earlier at the Sage Academy. However, one of them, Ryuko Amano, is revealed to have less control over her abilities than her peers, and she mysteriously vanishes shortly thereafter. Saki and her friends in Group 1 compete in a game tournament in which they must use their Cantus power to control small clay dolls pushing a large ball. Her team wins several matches until the final match, when the opposing team's Manabu Katayama breaks the rules in a violation of the Code of Virtue, resulting in a draw. Later that day, the kids come across a Quirat in distress, and Saki decides to save it without permission, using her Cantus powers. Manabu Katayama's name is removed from the list of students after the tournament, and he is never seen again. Group 1's 5 members leave for summer camp and begin telling scary stories. Satoru speaks of balloon dogs, creatures capable of causing themselves to explode, despite the fact that the other children doubt their existence, reasoning that if they all blew up, none would remain. The kids recall a legend about a strange creature known as the false Minashiro, which kills anyone who crosses its path. They find a multicolored Minashiro, and Saki captures it after venturing further than they should have. It can communicate with them, much to their surprise, and it reveals that it is a data repository. Minashiro gives the children temporary data access under the threat of being dismembered. It reveals the truth about humanity's tragic history since the emergence of psychokinetic powers 1,000 years ago, which the children find hard to believe. A monk named Rijin kills the creature, calling it a mountain demon, just as the false Minashiro explains the origins of their society. They see a woman holding a baby as it dies in a vision. Rijin seals their Cantus and transports them to be judged for their deeds. The monk suffers from death feedback as a result of killing the false Minashiro, which impairs his ability to think clearly. They are attacked by a group of Quirats on the way back, who are killed by the monk. A balloon dog emerges from the pile of bodies and leaps toward them. The monk and the balloon dog are both killed when the balloon dog explodes. The children flee, unable to defend themselves against the Quirats without their Cantus powers. But Saki and her friend Satoru are captured by Quirats. The pair is rescued by Squealer, a Quirat from the robber fly colony, who takes them before his queen and asks for their help against the invading rivals of the ground spider colony of Quirats who captured them in the first place. When the invasion begins, Saki and Satoru do not reveal that their Cantus powers are sealed and flee through the underground tunnels. Saki and Satoru appear to be stuck in the tunnels with no way out. Rijin hypnotized the students into forgetting their mantras, which are required to invoke their Cantus. Saki deduces. Saki uses the induction ceremony to recite his mantra and recover his Cantus after tricking Satoru into revealing his mantra during their childhood. Rather than fleeing, Satoru chooses to fight the ground spider colony, and he succeeds. The group survives several enemy ambushes with the help of Squealer and the remaining robber fly warriors. Satoru begins to show signs of exhaustion as a result of overusing his abilities, but despite Saki's protests, he persists until they come face to face with a massive army of Quirats. The ground spiders are annihilated when the giant hornet Quirat colony led by Kiramaru arrives. The ground spiders' leader releases 2 balloon dogs under the guise of surrendering, but Satoru uses his remaining energy to deflect the blast. Satoru suspects Kiramaru of planning to kill both him and Saki, so they flee through the forest, with Squealer guiding them through a shortcut. They are reunited with their friends when they arrive at the river. They run into Kiramaru on their way back to town, who surprisingly assists them by towing their canoes behind his ship. Kiramaru requests that they keep his help a secret, implying that he may have defied orders to kill or capture them. When they return home, Saki restores Shun's telepathic abilities and assists the others in doing the same. After 2 years, the children reach adolescence, and Saki discovers that her feelings for Shun are unrequited. He begins a relationship with Satoru, while Saki begins a relationship with Maria. Shun soon breaks up with Satoru and begins to isolate himself from the rest of the world. When Saki questions him about it, he reveals that the adults are aware of the events at the summer camp 2 years ago. He warns her to be cautious because they will soon be punished for their previous transgressions. Shun stops going to school, and his Group 1 friends begin a covert search for him. Saki and Satoru set out for Shun's hometown of Pinewood, only to discover it had been isolated by the authority and Shun's house had been demolished. Saki confronts her parents later that night about what really happened in the village, but they are forbidden to tell her the truth. Soon after, Saki is visited by Maria, who informs her that she and Mamoru discovered that the school has several impure, which are used to eliminate troublesome children, and that 2 of them have been released to hunt down Shun. Saki runs away to warn him, but runs into one of the impure cats. Saki defeats the impure cat before Shun can find him, thanks to a charm from Shun. Shun explains that his village was destroyed when his powers became uncontrollable. She also learns from him that the drastic changes in the world's fauna and flora over the last 1,000 years were caused by the residual cantus that flows out of humans who aren't fully in control. His pet bulldog Subaru is mutated into a monstrous form by the leakage of his cantus, causing him to become a karmic demon, and the safe house where he is being held is bizarrely warped. Subaru is killed protecting Shun when a second impure cat arrives to kill him. Shun kills the cat, but as he is killed by his own uncontrollable power, he confesses his love for Saki. Each student is paired with a partner of the opposite sex for additional training as part of their schooling. Saki's classmate Ryu expresses interest in partnering with her, but she declines because she suspects he is not who he claims to be. Instead, she teams up with Satoru. Saki and her friends realize their memories have been tampered with, and they now accept Ryu as a childhood member of the group rather than Shun, whose identity they have forgotten. Saki discovers a mirror in an old crate that, when polished, reveals the name of her older sister Yashimi, who was eliminated by the children because she lacked control over her abilities. Saki, Satoru, and Maria decide to continue their investigation without Mamoru. Soon after, they are summoned for a meeting with the Ethics Committee's chairman, who happens to be Satoru's grandmother Tomiko, a fact that even Satoru was unaware of. Tomiko reveals to Saki the truth about fiends and karmic demons, as well as the reasons behind the harsh methods they devised to keep them at bay. She was also the one who intervened and convinced the Board of Education to spare Saki and her friends after the incident with the false Minashiro. Tomiko informs Saki that she is the most qualified candidate to succeed her. Mamoru mysteriously runs away from home sometime later, and Saki, Maria, and Satoru take advantage of a class break to look for him. Saki and the others track Mamoru's footprints through the snow-covered mountains until they come across him in a shelter. They run into Squonk, the queerette who rescued Mamoru and Saki from drowning years ago. Mamoru tells them that he fled the village in fear, first because he thought he was being followed by an impure cat, and then because he saw signs that the Board of Education was planning to get rid of him. This was part 1 of the anime from the New World. If you want part 2, hit the like button, subscribe to get a waifu.